Yo, what is cracking, y'all? Hey, it's been a minute since I kind of gave y'all like an actual review on a product that I bought. So I figured today would be a good day for that. And the product that I figured I'd review for you is the very first product I bought when I bought my A7S III. Honestly, I can tell you right now, if you were to buy a Sony A7S III, or to be real, any full frame camera at this point, because they're all dope, there's only one lens that you truly need, especially if you're a video creator, and like that's the 24-70. And the 24-70 that I recommend is the Sigma 24-70 F2.8. So before we get started, my name is Sean Brooks, creative director and owner of Brookssmedia LLC, and I create social media ads and short films as a whole. I've actually also DP for the Obama Foundation and shot with like a lot of other bigger companies and smaller brand companies to kind of help build who I am today. So when I use gear, I'm using it from a professional standpoint and not just from a content creation standpoint. I use it for photos, professional ads, social media ads, you name it. Like honestly, this lens typically don't leave my Sony A7S III, and the lens that we're currently shooting on with today is the 35mm f1.8. So here we go. I'm gonna start off with the build. Now, at a price of $1,100, I really don't think you can find a lens with this same type of build of quality, and I feel like premium luxury. I'm gonna be real with you, like there's something about Sigma glass and their build that you just can't knock. Even from the fact that like when you have like an actual lock switch on here, so if you want to lock, if you put it into your bag and you don't want your, at 24mm, you don't want it to, move and end up, getting dust like most lenses do, you can lock it, which I thought was just, thank you, Sigma, like you're thinking. You also have a programmable mappable button here, like most Sony high-end lenses have, like the G Master lens. You actually have that here. So our program has to be the silent button. So if I'm like doing some photos and I have to go silent, I can just hit that button right there. And then you also have an AF and MF switch on here, which is very like tactile, very premium. Like, yo, I don't know what it is, but for $1,100, I just don't feel like you're getting a lens of the same quality, right? So if you look at the Tamron equivalent, which is the 2875, the build is nowhere near like this. So for $1,100, I'm not mad at that. Also too, just taking a look at the front lens element, just like how it looks. Like, to be real, Sigma has like a premium look. And anytime I've been in with a client and I've had this lens like in front of their face, they instantly be like, yo, you spent like a lot of money for your lens. Oh my God, hold on. I was choking. Even when I have this lens from a client, they're like, yo, man, like you spent like a lot of like some money on that lens though, and this whole setup. This kind of gives you that professional look where you are with a client, because look, I'm gonna be rich, y'all, looks does matter. They can be like, oh, okay, he's serious. And before I forget to mention, it is also weather seal. I've actually shot with this thing in the Chicago blizzard, B, and I've actually gotten snow directly on my camera in this lens with no problems at all. I checked for watermarks inside the lens and everything like that, nothing. So it is a really good weather seal lens too. I've actually tested that myself. Now, even though I am a video shooter primarily, I do take photos, right? I'm not a photographer. I'm just a filmmaker who knows composition, or I just know composition. I tell people that all the time because like that's real for me. I'm not a photographer. So when I'm giving you all my opinion on something, it's really coming from a video standpoint with a few photos. So with that being said, for photos, for me at least, 2.8 is like, it's enough. The bokeh looks really good. It's very creamy. It still makes my subject pop out. Y'all have to think, I'm coming from a GH5, an XT4, and now the A7S III, right? So for me, all those lenses, for the most part, I've never really had that true f2.8, like a full frame thing, right? Versus when I did on my GH5 when I was using like 1.4 lenses, f1.4 lenses. But on full frame, there's a look that f2.8 gives me that's just like, yeah, that's all I need. Like, typically, I don't even shoot when my background is blurry. I'm really just doing this because it's like, I don't know, why not? But typically for most of my videos, even my portraits, f2.8 is like, that's like a sweet spot for me. And the bokeh rendition that you get on here, especially also too, with you being able to zoom in for the compression. So if you like at a 70 f2.8 with the compression, your subject will still pop out and still look beautiful, yo. Like, I can't talk enough about this lens with that, man. And anybody who owns Sigma glass know they have like this Sigma look. I don't know if it's like the sharpness of it or something like that, but they have a look that I just don't get on any other lens. Even with me using a Sony lens, I still would know, like, at least from my eyes, if somebody had like a Sigma lens, like, and I was in front of their camera, I would be able to say like, yo, that's like, it just has a look when I see it. Now, I would even say it has that look too, like on videos. You know what I'm saying? It's just like a certain sharpness without. It's like sharp, but it doesn't have that digital sharpness that you get from cameras, you know what I mean? So even when you turn the sharpness down, the detail down to A7S III, like this lens is still sharp, you know? It's just, ugh. So now that we covered the bokeh and everything, I'm pretty sure you all want to know as far as like how is it the autofocus perform in regards to photos. And I would say again, eye tracking, eye and face detection works flawlessly in this lens. I've never had an issue where it just wasn't picking up the lens. I mean, picking up the eye. You gotta keep in mind too, I am still on the Sony A7S3, so the autofocus is like God tier, you know what I'm saying, Goku Ultra Instinct. So either way, whatever lens on it, like even if I use this little cheap, I can't even find, here it goes. Even if I use this little cheap 50 mil, which I just, this is garbage. I still get great autofocus out of that too. So I feel like either way, if you have a lens, and especially like a Sony camera, you bound to get good autofocus. So autofocus performance on this lens is perfection. So before we get further along into the video, you should hit like by now. By the way, I'm pretty sure I didn't drop some gems about this lens that you found valuable at this point. Or if you didn't like it, hit the thumbs down saying what you don't like at this point. But nonetheless, before we move on to the video portion, here's today's sponsor.
If you're looking to start a YouTube channel, then you're in luck. Here at Brookssmedia, we cover all the things you need to know in an hour-long consultation. We go over YouTube analytics, proper hashtag usage, how to gain sponsors, YouTube setup, and best practices. My first channel gained over 1.6 million views and over 5K subs in under 2 years. I've gained sponsorships from Lenovo, Deity, TrabLab, and many more. The consultation is recorded for you and notes are given at the end of the call, so all you have to do is bring your listening ears and many more questions that you may have. Use the link in the description to sign up today.
Now, moving on to video, this is my feel, right? This is what I do. This is what I'm looking at this lens for. I am so happy that I went with the Sigma 24-70 versus the Tamron 20-75. And it's because I knew that the 24-70 for video was gonna be like just that perfect width that I needed coming from a GH5 with a 35. I've never really owned a wide angle lens. So 24mm for me is like typically enough. So for me, if I was gonna spend the money, I'm like, this is the lens I wanna get. And that 24mm is actually perfectly wide enough for me. And then to be able to have a 24, a 35, and a 50, and a 70, all those different focal lengths, all having that same sharpness, and it doesn't have like that distorted look. And I forgot to mention this in the photos. Like, you know, at 24mm on some lenses, you have like that distorted look of like, yo, what's going on here? I don't really see that, to be honest. Like, that could be that my camera is automatically correcting for that, and even the same thing on Lightroom. But either way, I'm good at 24. Like, I'll vlog at 24 with no problems. And I never see my face kind of doing like that weird look. If you are a wedding filmmaker, especially if you're a wedding filmmaker, this would be the only lens that I'll be rocking on my gimbal the entire time. Because again, you're having that focal length between 24 to 7. You have all the focal lengths that you need. And again, if you're shooting the A7S3, like as far as you being like needing low light, F1.8, anything like that, because you need like a low light, I'm not really too concerned about that. I just shot a wedding, I was at ISO 32,000 and it looked clean in the reception, yo. Like, so it's, the Sony A7S3 with this lens, to be real, this is the only lens you need when you buy that camera. This camera. Now I would say it's not all with rainbows and sunshine with this camera. There are two main cons to me that just like, you know, they're not deal breakers, it's just something that you should be aware of if you're gonna like look into purchasing this lens. And that's gonna be the actual size of the lens, but also contributes to the weight of the lens. Now I'm gonna be real with y'all. At first I was using a Weeble S, right? And with this zoomed all the way out, and I also had a Tiffin Black Pro Mist filter on and a Freewell filter on, and I was using Weeble S. Yo, at 70mm, it's really front heavy, and my Weeble S kept failing. It failed on me like 4 times on the actual ceremony, so you know how embarrassing that is. So I would say if you have a Weeble S and you're considering the A7S3 with this lens, already know you're gonna have to upgrade your gimbal, okay? And that's exactly what I did. So I ended up upgrading to the Ronin SC2. I definitely have a review out coming for this soon. I'll give you all my first impression, but so far, I will never buy another Zhiyun gimbal again. Like, there's a certain feel that you get with the Ronin SC2. So more on that to come. Make sure you sub to the channel, and I got you. But if you're having a Weeble S and you're considering this combo, forget about it. So because of the size of this lens, you know, again with the weight, you also gotta consider the fact that you're putting this in your book bag, you're carrying it around for a lot, or you're carrying it in a gimbal the entire time. So I'm gonna be real with you. If you're not strong, you're gonna get strong. Like, cause it does weigh you down significantly. And I also have this with a cage too. If you have a cage in A7S3 as well, there's more weight that you have to consider. Like, I would say this, for like documentary shooting, I feel like this would be kind of like that perfect combo for somebody who was like trying to rig out the A7S III because it kind of gives them that weight of almost having like a cinema camera, right? Because that's the thing about documentary cameras. Like in most situations, they like having it weighed down because it helps with the IBIS, right? It helps with the stabilization. More weight, you don't have to worry about those micro jitters. So it's the same thing here. Not only do you have more weight, you actually also have IBIS. So I would definitely consider this lens for documentary work, and even with this setup, you know. So I guess the weight can be a con to the weight and the size can be a con depending on the frame of work that you do. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's even a con. But other than that, man, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I know I haven't given you all like an actual product review in a while. I'm actually incorporating more into that with my vlogs and everything like that. Hope y'all been liking the content. If you have, comment down below what you've been liking, what you haven't been liking. But other than that, baby, we out. Deuces.